Michael Watson, Secretary of State. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, Paul. How are you today?
I'm good. There were two stories that I don't want people to miss, and since we got so many guests today, I want to squeeze these in here.
Sure.
There were two things that happened. The federal judge dismissed Planned Parenthood's lawsuit seeking to invalidate an ordinance outlawing abortion in a major Texas city, arguing a lack of jurisdiction. It's one of the things that the Supreme Court ruled before they go on vacation. Judge James Wesley Hendricks, this was a federal judge in the Northern District of Texas appointed to the bench by Trump, tossed the lawsuit filed on behalf of the abortion provider against an ordinance banning abortion in the city of Lubbock. And the other thing that happened as far as a federal judge on Friday overturned California's longstanding assault weapon ban on constitutional grounds. And that shook up a lot of people. The U.S. District Judge Robert Benitez of San Diego ruled that the 1989 ban on military-style rifles deprives state residents of their right to bear arms. And then we had that ruling from the Supreme Court, was it yesterday, day before yesterday, as far as those people who've come in here for human rights violations or something, that they don't automatically, they don't get citizenship.
The temporary status, and the key is it was unanimous, which was a little bit surprising to me.
It was surprising to a lot of people. So, are we ready? The polls are now officially open. 9 minutes ago.
Let's go. You know, one of the things in Mississippi that folks need to understand is we're a bottom-up state. So just a big shout-out to our local level folks who are working really hard today to make sure we have clean and fair elections. We've got folks who will be all across the state today. We'll be in roughly about 60 cities. I'm going to be traveling, going to precincts, making sure that we're following election law. And I think that's important for Mississippians to know. You know, we care. We're going to be in the precincts watching, and we want to return that confidence to our system.
Any changes on this election from the last general election?
No changes. Our administrative laws regs are still in place as far as folks wearing masks, election workers wearing masks in the polls. Again, we want to make sure that there are no excuses not to go vote, and so we want to be careful with that.
Explain to me, how do we choose which cities are going to run for mayor and which do not? And I say mayor, but aldermen, councilmen, all those are running too for the most part.
Right. So when you saw Gluckstadt just formed.
By the way, they're now an official city.
That's right.
They don't have an election, though.
I had to sign those documents. Well, again, it goes through the process. So if you're a code charter, which is one that's organized by code, those are the ones that are voting today. It's close to, I think, about almost 200 that have elections today. Others have special charters, and some of those have elections today, again, depending on what they say in their special charter. Mm-hmm. So if it's a code charter that goes by the code, the statutes that are listed, obviously passed by the legislature, and so those are voting today for the most part.
Let me go back to Gluckstadt, because that'll be the state's newest city for the most part. Do we know how many people would be incorporated in them there?
I don't know those numbers. I actually have to sign the documents to make sure that they are official. And so
they're not a city until you sign it?
Well, they are. Our signatures will be on the documents. So I get to sign those, with point being. So I got to help incorporate Gluckstadt.
You don't see a new city born every year.
I think last time we talked, I remembered Goche was the last one I remembered, and there may have been some since then.
That's been a while back.
That was a while back.
So the building going on there is just absolutely incredible. Every day we're hearing about a new restaurant that comes in. What I love about this is that a lot of them are locally owned. You're going to have some of the national chains, but every day it seems like another restaurant or another business is announcing plans to locate there.
It's great.
So how do they do that now? So you start off, and they're meeting somewhere, and some people are designated as the city leaders right now. They have a mayor.
So there's a signature gathering process. They go through a bunch of different steps, and I've never incorporated a city. So
these people will serve as the leaders until the next election.
I assume that's the case. Again, I didn't draft their
It's uncharted territory to be charted. That's right. What you're trying to tell me. So, how do we look across the state as far as our election machines and everything else? Is that something that we have to face in the future? Or
that's a really good question. So we've got about 53% of Mississippi voters who are now on paper ballots. So they vote by paper.
53%. Whoa. That's a combination of, like we do in where we are. We write it down on paper, but we feed it through a machine.
Correct. And the numbers are a little confusing. So 53% of voters are on paper ballots, but 57 counties still have the old touchscreen machines. We've put a plan together to the legislature. It's going to be about $15 million to convert all of them. We're working on a couple of different funding streams to get that money, but at the end of the day, the legislature is probably going to have to step up and help us do that.
Well, is that any more secure? Because the way we do it now, write it on a piece of paper, we fill in the dotted lines, then we feed it through the machine to tabulate. So what's the difference?
Well, that's where we're going. You are on a paper ballot, so
right.
you feed it through
It's called a paper ballot, but actually everything's going to go to a machine.
Right.
So it's still if the machine is the part that's worrying people, it's still going to be in the machine.
But the key is you have a paper trail, verifiable paper trail.
I don't have it.
We do, so we can go back and see the paper. Hey, does this match up with what the machine said?
So somebody has those locked up, and they keep those the paper copy of
They
that.
have to keep them for a certain number of years, yes, sir.
As far as the anything in the legislative session that came up in 2021 that affects election, nothing happened as far as extended period of time as far as affidavits and things such as that.
No, but they did. So, they changed the law where they said basically with absentee voting now, as long as you have your ballot postmarked by election day and it's received within 5 days thereafter, your absentee ballot will be counted. So that was a key piece, and that is in effect today.
What else do we need to know in a short time we have here before you hit the road?
Well, number one, go vote. Number two, it's important local level. Those are the decisions that impact your lives on a daily basis very quickly and can change. So making sure you understand who you're voting for at the local level is important. Polls are open from 7 to 7. Take your ID, go vote, have your voice heard. It's important to get out there.
Been watching what's happening in Washington as far as this taking our IDs away from us?
I have, and Senator Manchin came out.
Yes.
Thank the Lord.
Thank God.
Said he was going to vote against it. And I think Sinema's still out there and probably will vote against it.
Well, everybody's trying to twist his arm and get him to change, but the odds are he won't. Hopefully he won't.
Well, when you put something out public just like that,
yeah,
that's pretty solid, and he's got something to lean on now.
It's a long way to the midterms.
It is.
Long way to the midterms, and maybe something will happen by the time we get there. If not, we are in a deep, deep amount of doo-doo. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Did you hear Kamala Harris's remarks yesterday?
I have not.
It is amazing to me that there's not more outrage, and I'm sure there is, but the Guatemalan president was not happy with her. You had the president of the United States of America all through the campaign and her talking about how bad the things were and that we needed to bring these people in here as far as the border is concerned. And then she goes down to Guatemala to talk to the president of Guatemala, and she says this.
I want to emphasize that the goal of our work is to help Guatemalans find hope at home. At the same time, I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur. But we, as one of our priorities, will discourage illegal migration. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. So let's discourage our friends, our neighbors, our family members from embarking on what is otherwise an extremely dangerous journey, where in large part the only people who benefit are coyotes.
This is after many of them have already been making the trip, and some of them are, right at the border, and she says that.
That's called, I've seen polling numbers, and it's really bad, so I've got to say this, but then I promise you, Paul, after the meeting happened, there was a closed-door meeting, and said, hey, never mind, I just had to say that.
I'm thinking there was some profanity in Guatemala.
I was a prosecutor for many years ago. That wall ain't going to stop them. No.
That's, Paul.
On the View. Good to see you, sir.
You too. It's important for our listeners to remember the states founded. We got to get back to what the states are doing.